Everyone thought I was just a small-town car mechanic who got lucky marrying a billionaire. Even Daniel's family treated me like dirt. But when armed robbers crashed our wedding, they learned something about me that shocked everyone, including my own husband. My name is Sarah, and 6 months ago, I was just another grease-stain mechanic in Millfield. I ran a tiny repair shop, barely keeping me afloat, but it was mine. Every morning, I tied my hair back, slipped into my coveralls, and fixed engines until my hands were raw. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave me peace after everything I'd survived. Then one March afternoon, a sleek black Bentley rolled into my shop, steam hissing from under its hood. Out stepped the most striking man I'd ever seen, tall, perfectly styled, wearing a suit that probably cost more than I earned in 3 months. "Can you help?" "My car just died," he said. His voice was smooth as silk. One look told me the problem. "Radiator hose burst," I said. "Easy fix, but you'll need to wait an hour." He looked genuinely impressed. Rare for someone used to being the smartest person in the room. Most people assumed a woman mechanic was pretending. Not him. While I worked, he asked questions, listened, and smiled in a way that made me forget how ordinary my life was. When I finished, he paid double my rate. "Would you like to get coffee sometime?" That's how Daniel Harrison, CEO of Harrison Tech, walked into my life. Coffee became dinner. Dinner became late-night walks, and before long, he proposed, not with a spectacle, but quietly in my small apartment. "Sarah," he said, kneeling, "you make me feel like myself, not my money. Will you marry me?" I said yes. But deep down, I feared he was marrying a version of me, not the woman I used to be. Meeting his family confirmed my fears. His mother, Catherine, was the definition of high society, diamonds, disdain, and judgment. "So you're the mechanic?" she said, as if the word was a slur. His sister, Amanda, smiled with poison. "It's interesting Daniel's marrying someone so different," she said, meaning unworthy. Their father, William, was polite but distant, calculating how much damage this marriage would do to their reputation. At the engagement dinner, I overheard Catherine whisper to her friends, "She's so common. What will people think?" Amanda added, "She's obviously after his money." The wedding planning was torture. Catherine took control. The venue, flowers, even my dress. The only battle I won was a guest list. I insisted on inviting my parents and my brother, Jake. They were good, humble people who raised me with love, and Jake was the only one who knew my secret. He'd served in the military with me years ago. He knew who I really was before I became Sarah the mechanic. The night before the wedding, he pulled me aside. "Are you sure about this? They don't deserve you. They don't know who you really are." "I don't want them to," I told him. "I just want to be normal." He frowned. "Daniel's company has enemies. You might need that old version of you again soon." I laughed it off. I thought my fighting days were behind me. I was wrong. The morning of the wedding was picture perfect. Clear sky, warm sunlight, the Harrison estate looking like a magazine spread. My mother helped me into my gown, her eyes glistening. "You look like a princess, sweetheart," she whispered. As the ceremony began, I took my father's arm. "Ready?" he asked. I nodded, my heart racing as the music started. When the doors opened, Daniel was waiting at the altar, handsome, smiling, eyes full of love. For that moment, I forgot the whispers, the judgments. We exchanged vows, rings, and promises. When the minister said, "You may kiss the bride," I felt like the luckiest woman alive. The mechanic had married the billionaire. The cocktail hour was in full swing when I noticed something off. The waiters. Their movements were wrong, too controlled, too alert. Their eyes scanned the crowd like soldiers on recon. I grabbed Daniel's arm. "Something's wrong," I whispered. He smiled softly. "You're just nervous." But my instinct screamed otherwise. I scanned exits, counted guests, noted guard positions. Old habits I thought I buried. Then I spotted Jake across the terrace, tense, alert, scanning like I was. Our eyes met, and then the lights went out. Screams. Shattering glass. "Everyone down!" a voice roared. 6 men in dark clothing and masks flooded the terrace. Guns raised. moving with trained precision. This wasn't a robbery. This was an operation. Guests hit the ground. Catherine fainted. Amanda screamed. William froze. The leader's voice was calm. We want wallets, jewelry, phones. Move quickly, and no one gets hurt. I knew better. This wasn't about valuables. It was a hit. Daniel tried to shield me. Just do what they say, he whispered. One gunman pointed at me. You in the dress, take off the jewelry. I complied until his rough hand tore my sleeve. The rip echoed louder than any scream, because that sound flipped a switch inside me. In that instant, Staff Sergeant Sarah Mitchell, U.S. Army Special Forces, returned. The woman I'd buried under grease, and engines came alive. He expected a helpless bride. What he got was a soldier. I twisted his wrist, slammed my knee into his chest, grabbed his weapon, and dropped him in 3 seconds flat. The crowd froze. Daniel stared at me, stunned. Sarah, what? No time to answer. Everyone crawled toward the house. I shouted. Bullets ripped through flower arrangements. Tables splintered. The fairy tale turned into a war zone. Jake appeared beside me, disarming another attacker. Told you this might happen. Save it for later. I snapped, reloading. There were still 3 men active, maybe more inside. They're after Daniel. I said, this isn't random. Daniel grabbed my arm. Who are you? No time to explain. 1 gunman flanked left. I moved low, took him down fast. 2 left, behind the bar. That's when I saw Catherine and Amanda huddled behind a fountain, crying, terrified. 1 gunman spotted them, raising his weapon. I ran, dodging gunfire, diving behind a dessert table as our 3-tier cake exploded in a cloud of frosting. Catherine, Amanda, move. They couldn't. Frozen. I circled the fountain, came up behind the gunman, and dropped him with a single strike. Catherine stared at me, shaking. You saved us. Can you walk? I asked. She nodded weakly. Amanda clung to me, sobbing. I'm so sorry for everything I said. Later, I said, now we survive. The estate was chaos. Guests fled in panic through shattered glass and toppled chairs. Smoke from a small fire near the catering tent filled the air. I could hear sirens in the distance. Someone had called the police, but the attackers weren't finished. 2 left. Jake shouted over the noise. 1 by the terrace, 1 near the gate. Take the terrace. I ordered. I'll cover the gate. Daniel tried to follow me, but I stopped him. Stay behind cover. No arguments. Sarah, he said, eyes wide, you're not just a mechanic, are you? I looked at him for a moment. Not exactly. Then I moved. I cut through the kitchen, crouching low behind the counters, every instinct from my years in uniform snapping into place. I grabbed a knife from the prep table. Not ideal, but it would do. The last gunman stood near the gate, talking into his earpiece. Target still alive. Repeat, target still alive. So, Daniel was a target. Someone wanted him dead, and they planned to use our wedding as cover. He turned just as I lunged. We crashed in the gravel path, his gun firing wildly into the night sky. I wrenched it free and slammed the butt into his jaw. He dropped. I aimed the weapon at him, breathing hard. Who sent you? He spat blood. Ask your husband. Before I could press further, Jake appeared, bruised but grinning. Terrace is clear. Police are pulling in. I looked down at the unconscious man. Bag him. We're not done. By the time the police secured the estate, the chaos had quieted. Guests huddled under blankets. Paramedics tending to the injured. The once perfect wedding looked like a battlefield. Daniel approached slowly, still in shock. His tuxedo was torn, blood on his sleeve. Not his, thankfully. Sarah, he said, voice unsteady. What was that? You fought like a soldier? I finished. He nodded. I sighed. Before the repair shop, before all this, I served 6 years in the Army. Special Forces. I left after mission went wrong. Too many didn't make it out. I wanted peace, so I came home, changed my name, and started over. Daniel looked at me as if seeing me for the first time. You saved everyone tonight. I did what I had to do. The police later confirmed what I already suspected. The attackers weren't random. They were hired mercenaries. Their orders: kill Daniel Harrison and make it look like a robbery. But the part that stunned everyone came when the surviving attacker finally spoke. He pointed to one of the guests being questioned. William Harrison, Daniel's father. The entire courtyard fell silent. The officer read from the notes. He paid us. Said his son's marriage was ruining the company and the family name. Wanted it ended permanently. Daniel froze, pale as paper. That's not possible. But when they checked William's accounts, the transfers were there. The betrayal cut deep. Catherine broke down sobbing, clutching Daniel. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. William was led away in handcuffs, avoiding everyone's gaze. For the first time, Amanda didn't look at me with contempt, only guilt. Sarah, she whispered, we were wrong about you. I said nothing. The days that followed were a blur of interviews, headlines, and investigators. Ex-Special Forces bride foils assassination attempt at billionaire wedding. The world suddenly knew who I was, not the mechanic, but the soldier beneath the gown. Daniel stayed by my side through it all. One evening, as the sun set behind the hospital where some guests were recovering, he finally spoke the words I'd been waiting to hear. I don't care what your past is, he said softly. You saved my life. You saved everyone's. And I love you even more for it. Tears filled my eyes. You sure? The quiet, gentle wife you thought you married doesn't exist. I'm both. He smiled. Good. Because I never wanted gentle. I wanted real. Months passed. The estate was rebuilt. Catherine moved out of the city, ashamed but trying to make amends. Amanda started volunteering at a veterans charity, her way of saying thank you. And me? I reopened my repair shop, same as before. I still wore my coveralls, still fixed cars. But now, the locals call me the wedding warrior. Daniel often stopped by between meetings, rolling up his sleeves to help. One afternoon, a young girl came by with a broken scooter. Daniel crouched beside me, grinning. Still the best mechanic I know, he teased. Still the best billionaire who can't change a tire. I shot back. He laughed, then turned serious. Do you ever miss it? The soldier's life. I thought for a moment. Sometimes. But then I look at this. Us, the shop, the peace, and I realize I finally have something worth fighting for. He leaned in, kissed me, and whispered, You already fought for it. Now let's live it. That night, as I closed up the shop, I stood in the doorway and looked out at the quiet street. So far from the chaos of that wedding day. The mechanic and the billionaire. Two worlds that should have never met. But maybe fate knew exactly what it was doing. Because when danger came crashing in, it didn't matter who had money or status. Only who had the courage to stand up and fight. And I did. I wasn't just the bride. I was the soldier, the survivor, and the woman who refused to be underestimated ever again.